My name is Tal. I traveled 40 countries without spending a penny. I have to work for anything I want. I slept in some interesting places. I lived with Bedouins in Jordan, my craziest stories. I made the challenge to hitchhike through the desert alone. This man, Mohammed, and we were traveling through the desert. Everyone knows the iron ore train as one of the most adventurous trips of your lifetime. I got off the iron ore train, hitchhiking, covered in ore. I lived with an Amazon tribe. This is the Waorani tribe in Ecuador, the last hunter-gatherer tribe of the world. Randomly hitchhiking and getting connected with the son of the leader of the tribe. I was able to organize $10,000 and buy all the supplies for them and give it to them. I traveled through Cuba on two horses with a girl I met at a bar in the US. You never know. Just step out of your comfort zone and go see the world with your own eyes.
The stories you've told me, can you do that for the rest of your life? What's the purpose of life?
How fast life can change. One day you have everything, the next you have nothing. The meaning of life is just spread positivity and light to anyone you meet, just making people feel seen. Andy, how's it going, my brother?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Good. Nice to meet you.
I'm glad we finally made this work.
I know. I like rescheduled a couple times here and there, and like I'm glad because I was traveling and I finally, by the way, it's 6:45 in the morning right now.
Oh, damn, I appreciate you doing it so early.
No worries.
Whereabouts are you at right now, Tal? Is it pronounced Tal? T at Tal?
Yeah,
Tal.
tall,
Tal,
whatever
Tal.
you want. It's a pretty controversial answer where I am right now. I'm on the other side of the world in a country that a lot of people hate because they haven't been here, and I'm in Israel.
Ooh, interesting. What
Yeah.
brought you out there?
I wanted to see the country with my own eyes. I don't judge countries from the media. I judge countries from what I go and see with my own eyes. And 80% of the things you see on the media are very different than when you go. When I was told don't go to Pakistan, I went to Pakistan. I had one of the best experiences of my life. When I was told don't go to, I don't know, Mauritania, I had one of the best experiences. So it's been very different here than what people think.
What's your background or ethnicity, Tal?
So my grandfather is from Iran. My grandma is from Iraq. My mother was born in Israel, and my father is from New York, American. And I was born and raised in Miami.
That's so cool, man. We're already sort of jumping into things. Yeah, how I first came across you was just through Instagram and TikTok. I think the first video I saw was you train surfing on top of those, coal trains through. I
That's
don't know what.
known as the iron ore train in Mauritania. Do you want me to dive into that and on what that is?
Yeah, I guess yeah. Tell me a bit about it. I saw that, and I think I've seen people do it previously. I don't know how easy or how hard it's to do, but those clips always get my attention.
So a lot of people know the iron ore train because they've seen it on Instagram. It looks like a cool video, cool shots. Throw on some trending audio, you may go viral, and you're riding 15 hours through the Sahara Desert on the most dangerous train in the world. This is what people think. Instagram worthy. They're gonna fly to Morocco, maybe go down through Dakhla and cross the border into Mauritania. And they'll have a guide, they'll have a fixer, they'll have someone to help them get on. What happens if I told you that I made it to this country completely by mistake, and I also made it to this country on a budget of $0? At 17 years old, I made a challenge to travel the world with no money, only using my camera as a form of currency. But after 2 years and nearly 40 countries, from the jungles of the Amazon to the mountains of Pakistan, I am now here to share my journey, how I did it. I arrived to countries alone with no plan and no money. I offered businesses content in exchange for their service, from a place to sleep to a meal, and that's how I got around. But this led me some of the best experiences of my life because I was able to experience the world as a traveler and not as a tourist. Strangers are just friends you haven't met before. So that's me. At 17, and as I said, I traveled the world with $0. But before the adventure, this was me. I was a kid who loved kite surfing. You see this sunscreen watch that I had on? That's how I was starting to represent companies from 14 years old. I would reach out to different businesses, telling them that I was a young kite surfer and I could help be their model for pictures and just send me products. And from a kid, I was bartering my way, offering content in exchange for products. whether it was a sunscreen, whether it was a t-shirt, whatever it was. But this mindset and this mentality would lead me to make the best decision of my life, but the hardest one. You see, I come from a normal, stable family in Miami. My father's a doctor. My mother here is a PhD professor. My brother and sister both have their master's degree. But there was me. I felt like the black sheep. And you may ask why. You see, this was the plan I had. I went to one of the best high schools in the world. I was going to go to an Ivy League. And the plan was simple for me to be a millionaire, sitting on a private jet somewhere, working a 9 to 5 maybe, and following the American dream of being an investment banker. But I decided to take a different path and choose something else. But as I said, to make things more interesting, I'm going to do it with $0. But let me show you the process, how I did that. Instead of choosing luxury vacations and beautiful views, I had to work for them. And I had to connect with locals. Instead of taking a taxi, I would use my skateboard and hold on to strangers. This is me in Vietnam. Instead of going to a restaurant and ordering food, I had to work for it, filming videos and becoming friends with the staff and ended up living with their family in the mountains of Vietnam. Or here, me in Cuba, when I decided to give back to the people of Cuba and go in with 150 kilos of supplies. But let me just explain how I did all of that. The first question you may have is, what do I eat and how? You see, as I said, I had to work for it, but I had no Instagram followers at the time. But I did have a camera. So I would walk into a business and I would offer to use my camera in order for them to give me food and maybe some cash here or there, which I would use to pay for my flights.
Tell them a customer wants to speak to him. Hello, sir. Hi, walaikum assalam. How are you? My name is Talal. I'm from the United States and I work around the world and I make videos for the best healthy restaurants. And I just arrived to your restaurant and I love it. I love what you guys do here. And where are you from? India, Zindabad. Where in India are you from? I've been to Kochi, I've been to Munnar, LMP, I've been all over. Basically, this is how I work. What I do is I make a video. You don't need to prepare anything special. I order like a normal customer, like a normal client, normal experience. I film a video, I edit the video. If you like a video, my price is 10 Omani dollars. If you don't like the video, I give you the video for free. Reason my price is so low is because this includes a free meal.
Okay, yeah, of course. The meal being free, it's not an issue. Like, it's completely okay because, again, for your feedback, like, just for a person who can give us a high level feedback, it's completely worth it, right? Because we want to improve. That's our whole thing.
I'll
So,
make a video. You don't need to prepare anything. I will edit it, I will film it, and I will send it to you before I leave the restaurant. And you let me know what you think about it, okay?
sure.
And I'll give you my review about your food.
All right, great.
Here, I'll pass you the phone to the staff. That's actually crazy. So they're literally paying me and I'm getting free food. I just got rejected a couple times, but finally it worked. Let's go.
That's how I did it. Negotiated my way through the world. And I slept in some interesting places, whether I made a video for a luxury hotel, or I lived with Bedouins in Jordan, or I slept on top of the mountains in Indonesia. And after visiting nearly 40 countries without spending a penny, whether it was Ecuador over here, or whether it was through Africa, even when I took my 82-year-old grandpa with me, or when I went through all of Asia, even making it to India and Pakistan, through Oman, through Jordan, through Turkey, through Israel, through Japan, even the United States. I went through all of California with a budget of $0. You probably are asking for my craziest stories. So that's the iron ore train. Everyone knows that as a very Instagram trend. But this was me sitting in an elevator one day, and the next I was on a flight because I got a message from an Instagram follower. And the next, me in Barcelona, hustling my way to make some money so I could catch a flight to go to the Canary Islands and meet him. And from there, we hustled our ways together, making videos for different businesses. And on my last day, I met this stranger over here who told me that I had to visit Mauritania. And so he told me that if I ever went, I could meet his camels. And I didn't know what he meant by that, but I did know that the cheapest flight was to a place called Dakhla. See, Dakhla is a place in the Western Sahara Desert, and it is the closest place to Mauritania and the cheapest destination from the Canary Islands. I used all the money that I had made from hustling my way through the Canary Islands in Barcelona, and I met the only other tourist on the flight. His name was Julian, and he was traveling around the world. However, the only difference was he was traveling with a budget and I was traveling without. My plan was simple to go from Dakhla in the West Sahara, hitchhike down all the way through Mauritania, hitchhike up through the desert here, and from all the way up here, I will catch a train down here, crossing the Sahara Desert on the most dangerous train in the world in a country known as Mauritania, the Islamic Republic of Mauritania. When I landed in Dakhla, I knew no one. I landed alone. No friends, no connection, nothing. The first person I walked to on the street, I asked to take a picture of him, and he invited me in the car with him to go for a drive, which led to a dinner. Happy to meet brother Talal from America. Now you're very confused. My name is Tal, but I had to go by Talal because I am Jewish. And as a Jewish traveler traveling in Muslim countries, unfortunately, it can be a bit dangerous. So I had to change my name. After meeting his family and a lot of his sisters, I made the challenge to hitchhike through the desert alone. On the way, offering content for this little hotel where I filmed professional pictures with my drone and camera so they can use for their Booking.com website. I made it down slowly from Dakhla, hitchhiking down through the desert where I met this man, Sabir. Sabir took me all the way down to the border, and by the time we arrived at the border of Morocco, it was closed. This is the Moroccan border, and on the other side is Mauritania. So I walked around and I saw this man drinking soup. So I went and I sat next to him, where you can see here I FaceTime my mother. This man didn't speak a word of English, but we spoke with our hands, and I asked him the food, how much is it? Even though I didn't have money, I wanted to know the price. And he explained with his hands that it was free for everyone because of Ramadan. So I had dinner and I went to play pool. And while I was playing pool, I met these two strangers who could not speak and could not hear. They were totally deaf and mute. And these two strangers are a very important part of the story because they ended up having a friend who lived in a very interesting room that I could stay in. So they had a mattress there. I slept on that mattress. And the next morning, I crossed through the border into Mauritania. I got taken from one truck, dropped on the side of the desert with nowhere to go, got picked up by another truck driver. But the third is the most important one. You see, this man, Mohammed, he had come from Morocco. We had become friends and we were traveling through the desert together now. And we listened to music, we danced, we laughed, and he invited me for dinner. But it got a bit late and I FaceTime my friends. They were very confused what I was doing, where I was. They were in college and I was hitchhiking through the desert. And you may ask why I came to Mauritania. And it wasn't for the iron ore train, it was all because of this man right over here. But I'll get to that in a second. You see, I had dinner on the side of the highway with all the truck drivers, and I asked them to drop me off at this restaurant here, where I used the Wi-Fi to contact this man that I met in the Canary Islands. He had a long lost friend, a brother's cousin's neighbor's friend, old friend, something like this, who lived in Mauritania, but he also had lived a lot of the times in Ohio in the United States. And when he heard there was a tourist from the US, a 19-year-old boy traveling through, he came and picked me up and took me to his family's house and showed me around, taking me to a local camel market. You see, anyone can visit this camel market in Mauritania, but no one can visit with a local that they had met randomly because of someone they had met in the Canary Islands. I lived at his house for 2 days. He took me around, showed me around to different places, gave me the local clothes, and I became more of a local than a tourist. But the most interesting story was that night he had told me that he wanted to take me to the desert to show me more of the Mauritanian landscape than most tourists don't see. So he took me to this little cabin in the middle of nowhere. Now, most are probably thinking, Tal or Talal, what are you thinking to yourself? Why do you trust this man? Because I met his family. I realized his intentions were good. And I connected with him for who he was, not where he was from. We are human in the end. And he introduced me to his friend over here who had been living in the desert for most of his life. His family was from Mali. We played some games, even though he didn't speak much English. The reason I came all this way was to meet the camels. Yes, the guy that I met in the Canary Islands told him to take me all the way there to meet his camels. That's exactly what happened. Anyways, that night I slept in that little cabin, and the next morning I started hitchhiking. I hitchhiked hopping on the back of a van here through the desert where I met the only other tourist on the bus. You see, her name was Sarah. She was from Finland. And I showed her a picture of this man, the man that I met on the flight, and saying, by any chance you know him? She told me she was on the way to go meet him. So as I'm hitchhiking through, I'm FaceTiming the truck drivers, and one of the truck drivers tells me he has a friend who has a tour agency that can help me get on the iron ore train. Serendipity, I call that. All because of this truck driver. But the thing is, here's Julian from the flight, here's Sarah, right over here. This is Sarah, and this is their friend that they had made. So I told the tour operator right over here that I would give him three tourists who would help pay for his services of getting us on the iron ore train, which is illegal. So we have to bribe some of the police, make some arrangements. In exchange, I will make him content and I won't pay. And he agreed. That's how I found me and him becoming friends. Not because he wanted money from me, but because of who I was. A young traveler, and to this day we still call and catch up. That night we boarded the iron ore train. You see, everyone knows the iron ore train as one of the most adventurous trips of your lifetime. But for me, it wasn't the iron ore train that was so amusing. It was the people that I met. These are four refugees from South Sudan, which the whole time on the iron ore train, I didn't spend looking at the views. I spent joking and talking to them, laughing, giving them a mask that I had, any extra clothes, and connecting with them with the little English that they spoke, but hearing their stories on how they had escaped one of the most dangerous and poorest countries in the world, using this train, not as a Instagram post or tourist attraction, but because that was their only way out. I got off the iron ore train, hitchhiking, looking like this, covered in ore. And the man that took me through the desert, which maybe you remember from a couple of slides ago, this man right over here, I called him and I told him I was back in Nuadibu. I told him I was back, so I called this man right here. I told him I was back in Nuadibu. He invited me for dinner at his family's, and I ended up living with his family for a couple of days, having a local experience hitchhiking back to the border, ended up getting stuck at the border since they were closed to get back into Morocco. The reason I wanted to go back to Morocco was to meet these two friends who could not speak and could not hear, which I promised that I would meet them and take them on an adventure. After convincing the border guards to let me through, we made it and we started the adventure. Hitchhiking, getting stuffed in the back of different cars, anything we could. And we got back to the desert, where I searched for the same hotel that I was a week before, and I made content for it to try to offer more services for us to stay again. However, they were fully booked, and we found ourselves in the middle of the desert with no place to stay. However, we continued through the desert because I somehow noticed a big truck on the side of the road, and I looked at the numbers and I remembered that a week before I had seen those numbers somewhere. And that's because Mohammed, my friend, had come back and had finished dropping off his load in Mauritania and he had come back to Morocco. I knock on the window and he lets me in and he looks at me confused how I was there. Pure moment of luckness and coincidence. And we travel to the desert. But to make things more interesting, I'm with two people that cannot speak and cannot hear. And I want to show you what the experience looked like, not tell you. They're telling me that they're excited to go swim. In 7 hours, we're going to eat because it's Ramadan, but we have no money with us. We're traveling with no money, but most importantly, we're happy. And we love that. And that's what they're telling me. And I understood that with hands. Until this day, we still FaceTime.
Wow.
But we ended up getting stuck in the desert in one of the most dangerous situations I've ever been through in my travels. In the middle of nowhere, on the side of trucks, trying to ask locals for help. No one was wanting to help us because they couldn't speak and they couldn't hear. So I took on the challenge with me. I didn't speak and I didn't hear. That's how I behaved for the time I was with them. I wanted to see what it was like, step into their shoes for a day or two. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. And eventually we made it to a hotel. After a long night walking through the desert. We made it to this hotel, and this is how I was able to get us a place to sleep by offering a video. By the way, here's the number of the place if you ever want to book it. Okay. So I will make a video of the hotel tomorrow. I give to you before I check out. Yes. And I don't the video free and the hotel free. We exchange. Shukran. That's how I had my room for the night. And as I said, I don't survive with money, I survive with value. And fears disappear when you move. But I also done a lot of other crazy stuff. I lived with an Amazon tribe. That is me in the middle. This is the Waorani tribe in Ecuador, the last hunter-gatherer tribe of the world. You see, if you want to come here, the only way is to go with a fixer and a guide and a translator and a chef, and it can cost you multiple $1,000s as you are crossing one of the most dangerous places in the world where there's other tribes that have speared people to death alive. But I decided to go alone with no plan to Ecuador and with a budget of $0, randomly hitchhiking and getting connected with the son of the leader of the tribe, who decided to take me in with him, and we hunted and gathered our food. With no translator, no plan, and no idea what would happen. I lived with these kids and they became my family for a week. And after a week or so, I realized I had to give back to them. I contacted people that I had met through my travels in the US through Instagram, and I was able to organize $10,000 and buy all the supplies for them and go back and give it to them so they can continue living their lives. This is how people look like there. This is the shaman. You can see his ears pierced. I lived with him. He became my friend. I wasn't a tourist to him. Became one of the locals. And that led me to giving back more on my trips. I traveled through Cuba on two horses with a girl I met at a bar in the US, and we had no money with us. We just exchanged giving supplies to one of the farmers for his two horses for a week and went around with horses giving out supplies to different people in villages, hitchhiking to get around, offering videos for businesses, and giving back to the Cuban people. I'm not Cuban. I have no connection to Cuba, but I wanted to help people. No organizations, no plan, no idea what would happen next. And that is exactly the quote I live by. You never know. So step out. Step out of your comfort zone and go explore the world. This is my Instagram, at Tal the Traveler. And go live your life because you never know what happens. Just step out of your comfort zone and go see the world with your own eyes.
Amazing. I see it's edited by
Sorry,
someone
I
else.
went through kind of the presentation twice, but because I told you the story, then I actually went through the presentation, so you can choose which one you like more.
Yeah, we'll use the presentation for sure. Um, so who's the person that put this all together? The Riven Fishkin.
This is a follower from Instagram. He helped me edit. He had me edit the slides. Strangers.
Do you store all your footage on like a Google Drive? How do you store everything?
Hard drives. I
How
have
many?
around four.
Wow. And every time you go on one of these adventures, Tal, do you have a home base you return to? Do you go back to Miami and just like reset, or are you just back to back traveling?
So it really depends on the situation. At 17, I took my gap year. I didn't have a home base for around a year and a half. No plan. I didn't have any plans to see my family. I just wanted to go see the world. That ended up changing because I ended up meeting someone in India who was a multimillionaire and flew my parents out to India, but that's a story for another time. And I lived in a villa with this guy. That was insane. But then I ended up taking my mom traveling through Japan with a budget of $0, and then taking my family through all Africa, including my 82-year-old grandpa, without them paying a dollar for the trip because I made content first in safari lodges. And instead of the safari lodges paying me, I told them to pay for my parents' trip. That's how I hustled my way through the world. And at the beginning, I didn't have a home base. I was just traveling and exploring kind of as a nomad. But over the times, since I'm Jewish, I realized I had to lie and hide who I am. Whether I traveled through the Sahara Desert or when I went to Pakistan or when I went to Jordan and Egypt, I had to change my name to Talal. And I was in Turkey on October 7th, the largest massacre of Jewish people since the Holocaust. October 7th was when Hamas members came into Israel and murdered my friends at a music festival. Now, people can call them freedom fighters when they watch this podcast and talk to me about Israel or Palestine. It has nothing to do with that, what I'm talking about right now. I wish for all people to live in peace and to be civilized. I'm a human being. Palestinians are human beings. Israelis are human beings. Everyone is a human being. Doesn't matter where you are from or who you are, as long as you treat others with respect. And I realized though that I don't want to live hiding who I am. So I decided to settle down now and live in Israel. Now, people can tell me Israel doesn't exist. If you want to call it Palestine, call it as you want. I'm not going to argue with you. But the country that is legally registered in my passport is Israel. And that's why I call it that. And I'm here now. I've settled down. I've built myself a bit of a home base. And yeah,
What's next for you, Tal?
I started studying in university, getting a degree, feeling a bit lost, unsure my next plans. But what's next is you never know. Because who knows what's going to happen, who I'm going to meet, what I'm going to do. But most definitely, you won't be seeing me working in an office. Let me tell you that much.
For someone that's listening to this, let's say they're in the early 20s, they just heard your amazing story and they're like, wow, like this is so cool but so scary. Like, what's your advice for them? Where can they start? How can they start?
It's not about traveling the world with no money. It's not about making videos for businesses. It's just literally about stepping out of your comfort zone and just being open to meet strangers and be friends with them. Because at the end of the day, like everyone's a stranger. You're a stranger. I don't know you. My friends that I made are strangers, whether I met them in university, they were strangers at the beginning. So you see, just instead of, going around and, I don't know, using Google Maps, go ask a stranger, hey, how do I get there? Become friends with them. How's your day going? When the person next to you sits on the bus, ask them, hey, where are you going to? Oh, you're going to work? What do you do for work? Hear about their lives. You never know who you're going to meet, and traveling starts when you open your mind up and you are curious. And that's traveling. I'm traveling now through Israel. I get around using my skateboard and holding onto the back of people's bikes and scooters to get around up and down through the boardwalk, and I end up meeting the coolest people. And that's how I live my life. Meeting people, new stories, new strangers, new friends.
When you're sort of traveling through different countries on no budget, what's your pack like? Like, are you carrying is it like a 20 kilo pack? What do you pack? You have your drone in there, your camera in there. What's your pack like?
Great question. Minimal as possible. 30-liter backpack. Five shirts, three shorts, five underwear, six socks. That's around one packing cube. My drone, the Mini 4 Pro from DJI, 249 grams, very small, fits in like this. Perfect. My camera, Sony A7 III with a 2870 lens, very small, around this size. My phone, this size, and a portable charger, probably. Most of the times I don't bring one. And that's it. That's all I need. So that fits in around the bag like this. Nice.
And is that pack going with you through the iron ore train when you're in the desert in Jordan? Is that the same pack that you just carry everywhere?
Yeah.
Wow. And something you mentioned earlier was also you staying with the Bedouins in Jordan. Like, how did that come to be? That's so cool. I remember reading this book. I forgot the name of the adventurer, but him talking about crossing that desert. Like, it's so cool that you were able to stay with them.
Yeah, so anyone can go to Jordan and book a Bedouin experience, but what happens if you go to Jordan with no money and you end up getting hosted by them randomly in the middle of the desert when you're wandering through the night? So I skateboarded from. So actually, one thing I bring on my travels that I forgot, I always bring my skateboard. That's the most important. Forget my clothes I can buy or get or whatever I need to do. And I've actually made videos for different clothes shops in Mongolia to get some clothes at a thrift shop. But I skateboarded from Israel to Jordan, crossing through all of Jordan from the top to the bottom using my skateboard and my thumb to hitchhike. On the way one night, I was with a friend from Indonesia. He fell off his skateboard and broke his hand. We had no money with us, so we hitchhiked to the hospital because we couldn't pay for an ambulance because we literally brought no cash with us. We hitchhiked to the hospital. We luckily the first person to pick us up. Jordanian hospitality is absolutely amazing. One of my favorite countries for hospitality. And we get to the hospital. We get taken care of. They cast him up. They tell him that he needs to go back to Israel. However, we were really scared because we didn't want to have any altercations because of the country where we came from. People from Jordan hate it. So we got him a direct transport right to the border. And on the way, I told him, listen, man, I'm going to continue exploring. You go. You got this. And I got off. It was around 7 p.m. I was in the middle of nowhere and I hitchhiked. And through the desert, I was walking and not sure where I would end up next. Probably at the nearest hotel and offer to make a video and get picked up by these people. And they signaled at me that they were Bedouins. And we spoke a bit through the Arabic that I've learned from my grandma from Iraq. And just a bit of here and there, and ended up living with them in a little shack.
When you're flying, are you carrying on your 20-liter backpack and skateboard? Do you
Yeah,
check
yeah.
it in?
I never check it in, and sometimes they give me problems about the skateboard, but Most of the time, I find my way through. And the next plans is taking all this 2 years long of experiences and travels and memories and stories and turning it into something, whether it's doing more podcasts like I'm doing now, whether it's making a bigger YouTube channel, which I just hired an editor, I'm writing a book. So it's a little bit of everything, but basically getting the story out there to inspire people.
I love that.
That's the goal, man.
When you sort of visit all these restaurants and hotels, like even just if you get lunch and you're like, hey, I'll give you a video before you leave. Like, are you editing on the spot? Are you editing on your laptop? What does that workflow look like?
Great question. Depends on what I'm doing in the deal. It can look like this. I make a video for a restaurant in exchange for free food. I have my phone. I film 12 videos of 3 seconds each. It's 36 seconds, 12 clips. I film the food coming out, a shot of them, one preparing the food, a shot of the sign, a shot of indoor, a shot of outdoor, and that's it. It takes me 3.5 minutes. The other minute and a half is spent plugging that into pre-made templates that I have created that are professional, easy to make. And that takes me a minute and a half. So this whole process is 5 minutes, filming and editing.
And as you're like going through all these crazy places, what's your parents' thoughts? Are you FaceTiming them? Do they have any idea where you are?
Great question. You see, I FaceTimed my mom when I was in the Sahara Desert, and she was very confused. But at the beginning, they didn't want me to go travel. They said no. They said you can only go to Europe and go with a tour. And slowly by slowly, that changed when I went to Turkey, and slowly by slowly, that changed when I took my mom to India with me, and took her also traveling with no money through India, and took them on my adventure. And so yeah, their thoughts have changed a bit now. They want me to kind of rest and take it easy, but I'm hopefully will be able to go to Syria. That is one of my dream countries to visit. But I am a bit overexposed. I've thankfully had a lot of hospitality happen on my trips, a lot of crazy stories, and I haven't been able to process them all. Last week, I went to Jamaica. I flew across the world to go volunteer and build homes for people that were affected by the largest hurricane and the strongest hurricane to hit Jamaica. Category 5 Melissa hurricane.
Crazy. In the last 12 months, how many countries have you been to?
The last 12 months, I don't know exactly, but in total, I've done around over nearly 40 countries with no money.
Have you been in circumstances where you felt like a target, where you felt like, hey, like someone might want to take my phone right now and I need to like figure this out?
I mean, it's a good question. I've gone through the slums of India with my camera in my hand, people staring at me. What are you doing? Why are you here? But every person that looked at me, I just went in and shook their hand and asked them how they were doing in their local language, connecting with them for who they are. You have to understand these people. Imagine you lived in a small village and a man comes, he's white, he looks different, and he has better technology than you. You're gonna want to have that lifestyle. But instead, I go and explain, ask them how they're doing. Most of the time, even living with one of them in the slums and experiencing the life. And when they hear that I'm 19, most of them, they see me as their son. And I haven't felt any danger throughout my travels. I felt some times, I mean, through the desert in Jordan, actually, one time, in the middle of the night, this car like pulled up next to me and I ran. I was really scared. But that was one of the only times I was really scared. But through Pakistan, I mean, people were so friendly. At Egypt, people were friendly. And yeah, you may have sometimes people come up to you and ask for money, but when you have no money because you're traveling yourself with the money, you tell them, brother, I have no money. Yeah, they're very confused. And actually, one time some guy really tried to sell me a piece of clothing on the side of the road in Pakistan. I was in the desert, in the middle of the mountains alone. He was insisting on me buying this. And he was getting a bit aggressive. So I told him, you know what? I took the shirt from him. And I said, I'll sell it for you. And I went around with him selling the shirt. So it's how you connect with people. Put them on your same level. You're not better, you're not worse. We're all equal.
That's beautiful. That's such a beautiful lesson. How about any advice for like visa tricks? Like, are you always looking and searching up, hey, does this country need a visa? Applying for it quickly before you go in? What's the go there?
Thankfully, I have a US passport, and thankfully, we have ChatGPT now, so it's very easy. But yeah, visas are here and there, but now you can get e-visas. They're very easy. E-visas are the way to go. And I'm planning in the next week or two to skateboard from here to Gaza and get permission from the IDF to go into Gaza, maybe with them or somehow escorted, so I can go and see the reality for myself.
With a mission like that, are you just emailing the official Gaza website? Are you looking for like a embassy that you could contact to? Where do you start with a mission like that to get in?
First off, I need to get an electric skateboard that can take me that kilometer. So I reach out to a couple of skateboard companies here in Israel, tell them my mission, what I'm doing, and if they want to provide me an electric skateboard for 4 days, I'll film the whole journey. I'll take pictures of their electric skateboard, professional pictures they can use on their website. I'll charge them $600. Whoever's interested, give me an electric skateboard, pay me $600, and you'll get professional videos and pictures, advertisements, traveling through the desert with your skateboard. Perfect. Then I'll also promote them through my Instagram, making vlogs. So that's how I cover my electric skateboard and make money. With this money, I mostly will probably use to buy supplies to give to people. Now, in terms of expenses on the trip, I will make videos and hustle my way through because it makes things more interesting. And then I will go down to the border, and usually I go with no plan, try to get there on the spot. But with something like Gaza, which is not a place you can visit as a tourist and not a place civilians can enter, you need to have approval beforehand. And that's a lot of diplomatic approvals. I've never done anything like that, so it's a new challenge, and I have no idea where to start. But I've kind of been reaching out to people through Instagram, trying to get anywhere in, and trying news channels here and there. And slowly by slowly, I know if there's a will, there's a way.
That's so epic. Are you ever scared of like hunger or like having no water and just dying of thirst or just being stranded in a country and having no money to like go anywhere?
No, not at all. Because man, there's so many friendly people in the world that would just like help you from the kindness of their heart. Especially like these countries that like no one knows about. Like it's actually insane to think about. Okay, like you think Egypt, you think the pyramids. What happens if you go to the areas that no one knows about, no one hears about, and you hitchhike with Bedouins? Like they'll literally give you everything they have, even if they have nothing. Like that's just insane to think about. So I just kind of live my life like that now. Like I'm here, I've kind of settled down. Anyone I meet, especially like foreigners or guests or tourists that are like here in Israel now traveling, like just like immediately like open my house to them, like host them on my couch, like give them a place to stay. Like next week I have like a girl from South Korea who like I have no idea who she is, but like I'll just host her and make her feel at home and make her feel like safe because like that's just like how I always felt throughout my travels. Just giving back to the world what the world has given me. And that's just like how people should start living their lives more.
As you're reaching out to like different brands like the electric skateboard companies, what does your outreach email look like? You know, you talk about value. Are you trying to, do you emphasize your Instagram following? Do you emphasize previous campaigns, previous companies you've worked with? What does your email look like as you're reaching out to these brands and
It's a great
companies?
question. I mean, it's shifted over the times. Usually with hotels and restaurants, I would just show up. I never send messages in advance. But now it looks like I mean ChatGPT helps me a lot, obviously. But I send them a message explaining what I'm going to offer them. I'm going to offer explaining my offer, my value that I'm going to provide them, what I'm looking for, and how it's useful for them, and how it's useful for me. And if they're interested, then we got a deal. If not, then on to the next company.
Are you carrying your full hard drives through these crazy adventures or do you
No.
leave it? Got it.
No, I mean, not at all. Actually, like I kind of lost a lot of footage because like I had no low phone storage. Like all my videos from Jamaica were on my phone, and my phone ended up breaking, and I lost all my content from Jamaica. But luckily, I filmed it on my GoPro, so I have like content on that SD card. But yeah, like when I was traveling through, like I just have a lot of SD cards that I mostly keep, and then I'll just like when I get back, just like put it on the hard drive.
I know you showed photos earlier of you staying with the Amazon tribe. How did that come to be? What made you want to go to the Amazon rainforest?
That was after like a year of traveling the world through Asia. Like I got back to the US for the first time in a year and maybe a year and 4 months. I was back in the US. I was having Friday night dinner with my family and some friends, and it was the first Friday night dinner. Every Friday night, my family, it's part of Jewish tradition. It's called Shabbat dinner. We get together and we have a dinner. And one of the people that came for our dinner told me that you have to go to the Amazon jungle to meet the tribes, and I was confused what that meant. And I looked online and I saw that these people existed, and I was on the next flight out to Ecuador. And when I landed in Ecuador, I had no money with me, and I hustled my way and came to Ecuador with $0 and left with 1,000. And also $10,000 was given, fundraised, none kept for myself.
How do you collect money? Like when you go into all these countries, are you just collecting cash and converting it to US dollars at the airport? Are you getting them to PayPal you? How do you even just like collect payments in these different countries?
Local currencies, honestly. I have a lot of different local currencies now that I just have. But a local currency, then if I meet a foreigner, then I'll exchange with him, depending on the situation.
Love that. Crazy, yeah. I
Where are you
really,
from?
Sydney, Australia.
How you guys holding up after what happened?
I think mm, Bondi is probably a 50-minute drive from my place. I've sort of saw the news, saw everything that happened. I know there's like protests going on,
Protest against what?
whether it's the Muslims protesting and they're angry, or the Jewish people they're protesting because they're angry of what happened. So I sort of see clips of that online. I'm not too in the weeds of like what's actually happened. I just know there was these two guys that showed up to Bondi during I guess a Jewish get together and killed 12 to 16 people, and it sucks. It's horrible. Yeah.
It's insane. Your family's from where?
Vietnam.
Wow. Your father and mother?
Yeah.
You speak Vietnamese?
Sort of ish. Yeah, not too bad. I can sort of get around, but it's not like
Come
really
on.
good. Hmm?
Come on.
Come on. Yeah, thank you.
I traveled through Vietnam with no money.
Did you go through north, south, the whole?
I crossed from Malaysia, Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam with my skateboard and no money, making videos for businesses on the way. Crossing from Laos to a place called Hue. Hue is in the middle of Vietnam. And from Hue, I went up, shot up to Ha Giang, down through Cao Bang, all the way through the North Vietnam, living with different tribes and people and ethnic groups in the northern areas and making businesses, videos. And Vietnam is a special place for me, one of the most beautiful places.
So like Vietnam, like all the business owners, one, they most of them struggle to speak English, and two, they're sort of like these little stores and little huts, and you're just going up to them and be like, hey, in exchange for a
No,
meal, I shoot a video.
no, I don't do it for, try not to do it for local businesses most of the time, no. Hostels. I mean, nowadays there's these nice guest houses, you always find some nice business, even in the middle of nowhere. I randomly arrived to one village. I mean, I made a video for a motorbike company called Style Motorbikes in Vietnam. They gave me a motorbike for 2 weeks. I went around Vietnam, and on the way, just every night, just stopping by different hotels or hostels that I saw on Google Maps. So as long as they had a Google Maps page, that means that they had pictures on there, and I would just help improve their Google Maps pictures, and if even if they didn't have an Instagram page.
Wow. And just off the money from these many gigs, you were able to save up money for all your flights.
I go where the cheapest flight is. From Vietnam, the cheapest flight was to Taiwan. It was the next morning, so I motorbiked like 250 kilometers, caught a flight to Taiwan, landed in Taiwan, and once again with no money, hitchhiked out of the airport with a stranger I met on the plane. She was 20 years old. She was from Taiwan, and we ended up falling in love and traveling around Taiwan together.
Wow.
So
Talking about love, finding a partner. Given like the world experience that you've gotten, Tal, like, is it going to be hard for you to find a partner, a girlfriend, a wife that can just understand and sort of be on a similar frequency as you?
the hardest thing in the world, man. Can't imagine. Can't date anyone. I can't marry anyone. I need someone who's special, thinks the way I think. Not just a girl that travels and likes adventurers, or not just a girl that likes five-star hotels. A girl who likes to see the world in an authentic way. And it's going to be the hardest thing in the world to find the one. But if you're watching this now and you think you're the one, shoot me a message on Instagram. Put it that
Yeah,
way.
I love that. I love the
Never.
optimism.
I'm 20 years old, man. Like Andy, thank God I'm 20 years old. Like, I'm young. I'm not looking to get married now, so I'm okay. I'm sure the right person will come to me.
I asked you earlier what your plan is for the next for the future, and you're sort of playing it by ear and trusting the universe. What has been your focus on the last 6 months?
The last 6 months, man, it's been kind of a juggle of trying to travel a bit and settle down. But now, for the past 6 months, just been organizing the content, downloading it to hard drives, editing, filming, meeting new friends, trying to build some new relationships with new people, long-term friendships. But it's a bit hard, man. Travel for so long, you see so much, and you find yourself sitting in a bar in a college town and just confused, shocked how you end up one day in Jamaica meeting a guy named Damien who lost his whole home because of a hurricane. And you end up, hearing his stories, and the next year sitting in a bar and everyone's acting like life is normal, but it's a big juxtaposition. So the past 6 months I've been posting mostly every single day, trying to build my Instagram following at 33,000 followers, but mostly my content that I'm in Israel has been going viral, not my travel content. So that's kind of my goals, is to go more viral on how I traveled with no money. Just hired an editor to help me with that, edit all my content. Bangladesh, she's from Bangladesh. And yeah, man.
Talking about that sort of juxtaposition, like I guess like probably like you might not have any answer, but I want to ask anyways. Like what's the purpose of life? Like what's the meaning of life? Like you've can you travel and just keep doing like the stories you've told me? Can you do that for the rest of your life? Do you have to settle down? Do you have to make money? Like what's the purpose of life? Yeah.
It's a great question. See, my definition of being successful has changed a lot. I always thought it meant having a Ferrari, private jets, being the richest man in the world. But for me, man, I just want to live a simple life with my family somewhere, have a little cabin, just live a simple, good life. I want to spend time with my kids and not be consumed by work, because I realized how fast life can change. One day you have everything, the next you have nothing. One day you're alive, the next you're murdered in a massacre in Sydney, for example. You never know what's going to happen. So I like to live my life every minute, just appreciating it. Every person I meet, to make a positive impact, compliment them, ask them how they're doing. And the meaning of life is just to spread positivity and light to anyone you meet, because you never know what someone's going through. That's what I mean successful. It means just making people feel seen.
I love that, Tal. Two questions I usually always ask all my guests as we wrap it up. One, any recent discoveries, habits, routine, mindset you've adopted that you've been implementing to your day-to-day life?
There's something I want to start doing, waking up early. You see, every morning for 1 year and a half or 2 years of traveling, I would wake up with something to do, something to look forward to, the next adventure, the next country, the next attraction, the next nature. But now I'm just like waking up, I'm just like, yeah, I'll go to school. So I'm trying to use that mentality to be like, I'm gonna wake up now, go to the beach, go for a run, trying to live kind of that normal life. Go for a skateboard session in the morning. Go for a swim. I live 2 minutes away from the beach now, so thankfully that's something I want to start, implementing in my life. Just having a coffee on the beach every morning and just starting the day like that. And thankfully for you, Andy, for me, thanks to you, Andy, I was able to start my day pretty early today. This is the earliest I have woken up in the past year.
I appreciate you doing it so early. I know the time difference, so thank you.
We've rescheduled like 4 times already. Yeah. I wasn't even sure if you were gonna show up. Maybe you wouldn't believe that I was gonna make it. We were like, "Oh, is this guy? This guy keeps rescheduling me. Like, is this guy a joke?"
Yeah, I wasn't too
But
sure because, and you're right. Like I went on Zoom, I was like, oh, it may or may not happen. Whatever, everything happens for a reason. But you pinged up. I was like, oh shit. Okay, I guess it's happening.
yeah, we did it.
We did it. Another quick question: what was the main motivation for you to settle down in Israel? Why not settle down in Miami with your family? Go to college there. Yeah.
So I wanted to study in an international school because of the world experience that I have. I chose a school here in Israel that I found called Reichman University. It's made up of people over 90 countries. I have friends from Rwanda. I have friends from South Sudan. I have friends from India. I have friends from China. All these different countries in one place. And I didn't want to hide who I am anymore. And I was here when Iran attacked and when Israel attacked Iran. And this war happened between Iran and Israel, and I was here as my neighborhood where I would visit as a family was getting destroyed. I had friends who had lost their homes just because they had nothing to do with the war, nothing to do with anything, just because they were living in Israel. And I realized, man, that I want to be here with people like my mindset. And Israel is such a special place that people don't understand, man. It's people think that only Jewish people here. Most of my friends are Muslims. We live in peace. I have friends that are Christians. I have friends that live in the West Bank. I have friends that are Palestinian. I have friends that are Jewish. I have friends that are Arab. I have friends that are Christians. It doesn't matter. We're all humans. So that's why I try to stand out in Israel. It's the most diverse place. And we're surrounded by so much cool, crazy countries that hate us, but also really interesting countries like Lebanon. It's my dream to visit. But because I'm in Israel now, if anyone finds out, they'll kill me when I go there. They'll murder me. They'll lynch me. Literally, think about that. If anyone who's watching this now and they hear that I want to go to Lebanon, they'll just want to kill me because I live in Israel. Like, literally because of that. Like, I'm literally just a human being who just wants to see the world in such an authentic way, and I will be killed maybe for I've visited this country or lived here for a bit or wherever it is. And you can be Muslim in Israel, but you can't be Jewish in Syria. Put it that way. You can, but it'll be very hard. You can be Muslim in Israel. You can be Christian in Israel. There's a police officer that I'm friends with who's a Muslim Arab. There's the Druze people. The Druze people are an ethnic group that was getting genocide in Syria and some regions in Syria. And everyone thinks Israel is bad and the people here are bad, but you got to come see it for yourself because these people, man, they want to live in peace. I ask them most of the times, I ask people on the bus how they're doing, and they're just saying we're just waiting for war to end and for us to live our lives normally.
That's epic, Tal. Yeah, I had no idea that Israel was that diverse. I'm surprised to hear that there's Muslims and Christians working in the
There's two
police
million
force.
Muslims living here in Israel, and people think they don't have the same rights, and maybe there is some racism towards them. Maybe they feel that, and I'm sorry for them feeling that. But you can't be gay in Gaza or Palestine. You can't be gay in Syria or in Iraq. You go to Israel here, we have the LGBTQ community center 15 minutes away. I'm not gay, but still, that shows you a level of acceptance. At the cafe next to my place, we have gay pride flags. And it's so ironic when people put gay pride flags and Palestine flags next to each other. And it's like contradicts each other. Don't understand that. It's shocking. It's completely shocking. And you'll meet many of these Christians now that are getting murdered and persecuted in Nigeria or in Sudan. Genocide's happening that no one talks about. Everyone's always talking about Palestine and Israel and Gaza. And yeah, I wish for anyone who's watching this, and I hope not to turn this into politics because I just came here to share my story, but for all of us to live in peace and for all of us to live in a world with no borders. But, that's just unfortunately not in my control, guys. So one message is just got to start living together. We're all human.
When you go to college, go to university, and you're going to class and you're surrounded by all these other 20-year-olds, can you even relate to them anymore? Do you feel lonely in a room surrounded by people your age with what you've gone through and experienced and seen?
Yeah, I do. I do. I sit in class and, people are like, oh man, I saw you were in Jamaica. How was it? But no one really understands. Oh man, I saw you rode the Iron Ore train. Man, as I just showed you, Andy, the trip wasn't the Iron Ore train. It was small people that made the trip special. So the only people that can relate are people that, kind of see my Instagram and follow and see what I'm doing. But even other travelers and adventurers, most of them they do it with paying for tours or, getting some guides here and there or getting some trips. So for me, I've just experienced the world in such an authentic way that man, it makes me feel like a black sheep. It really does. But just like it's tough, man, because everyone's different. Everyone has their stories, but when you see so much at such a young age, it's a blessing and a curse because you're put in a room with 150 people and you'll just feel so different. Even though it looks like you're having a good time, like you'll just be confused why you're there and why you're not in another country helping someone else and using your skills to continue to inspire the world. So the goal is to build my followers, build my brand, to build my page here while I have quote unquote settled down for a bit, building a base and see what happens next.
Love that, Tal. Last question. Aside from work, traveling, editing, creating content, any personal goals outside of that that you want to focus on for the next 6 months?
I want to focus on waking up early, taking every minute of the day to just be productive, start working hard on not only editing in school, but working hard on building just long-lasting relationships. Because most of my friends from high school I've kind of drifted away from because I've just felt a big juxtaposition in how we behave and how we act. Most people, you can group them together, they seem very similar, but then there's me, where I just feel very different. Not because I'm better or worse or anything, just because I'm different, because I've experienced so much unique experiences that most people can't relate to, and I can't relate to them, It's just unfortunate. But my personal goals, man, is just to like start hitting the gym. Gotta get in shape. Gotta get looking like Andy Bay.
Tal, how can people get more of you? What are all the platforms, social media? Tell us about maybe the book you're working on.
At Tal the Traveler, Tal the Traveler on Instagram. Send me a message if you watched this, what you thought. I hope everyone here enjoyed the podcast. And I want you to remember one thing, and there's one thing I have to say, is that even though we look different, we sound different, we may have different religions, we're all humans. We all deserve to live, and we all deserve to live in peace together. So just keep spreading light to anyone you meet. Ask them how their day is. Connect with people, not because of where they're from, but because of who they are.
I love that, Tal. Thank you so much for your time. You have such a wealth of stories. We've sort of scratched the surface. It's so epic, all the adventures you've been on. I really appreciate you waking up super early to do this. It's so impressive how young you are and how much you've seen. And it's, beautiful seeing, the hero's journey you're going through, that journey of, figuring out yourself, figuring out where you sit in this world, that just feeling of that challenge of feeling lonely, not seen, being able to sort of be there for others, but then you go home and you're just sitting there all alone and you check your notifications, no one's checking on in on you, and that whole, you know, journey. Um,
Do you have any advice for me?
the first story I thought of, I remember 2, 3 years ago, I went to a friend's birthday party and I knew all her friends. They all follow me on social media. They all know me. There was just a lot of small talk. Like everyone knew me. All her girlfriends and their partners knew me. But like I felt so alone in a room surrounded by people that knew me. Um,
But they don't know you. They know what you do, maybe your achievements. But do they know you? Do they know Andy, or do they know Andy made the podcaster?
exactly. So that feeling was just soul crushing, and I spent like a whole year just trying to understand, what was happening there. Like the few different metaphors and understandings I have, it's like you're sort of, this dragon that's raised by wolves. The high school you went to, you were just like, you grew up with everyone, and when you're young, the dragon is playing with all these wolves, it's fine. But as you grow and there's an obvious difference, you're gonna feel like an outcast despite growing up with all these wolves from day one, from year one. And that has nothing to do with them. That's nothing to do. You were just born different. Um, and then sort of seeing it just really naturally occur. Like if you've seen those clips of Justin Bieber getting invited to like one of his black friends' birthday. They're at a club and he's surrounded by sort of all these sort of African Americans and he's just dancing on his own and you can feel this bubble around him. Everyone knows who he is everyone knows it's Justin Bieber. Everyone's just scared to approach him. Everyone's scared to say hi. But he's the most friendliest person ever. If you said hi to him, he's like there's this weird bubble that just keeps him all
Yeah.
alone.
But we don't really know who he is. So if I were to meet Justin Bieber, I would go to him and I'd tell him, hey Justin, I'll be honest with you. Everyone comes and acts like they know who you are and wants a picture with you. But then after 5 minutes, they'll just leave. They just want you for your fame. I want to know who you are. Let's have a coffee. Let me get to know you. What's your story? Let me get to know who you are.
And I think having that mindset, Tal, I was always like, dude, like this is how I treat people. Like, why can't people treat me the exact same way? Like, I was like really craving for it to reciprocate. I was like, dude, if I was my friend, I would go up to say hi to me at the party, say, hey, Andy, I noticed you were doing this and this. Tell me about that. How you like? That's how I approach people, and I was craving for that to be reciprocated. Like, I wanted to be my own friend, or I was like, dude, like if I was my own friend, this is what I would do, and it just never happened. And I think
What do you do?
you transition to a point of like just understanding that one, the reason why you have all these epic stories to tell and you've been able to do everything you've been able to do is because you have that skill. And the reason why no one else is going up to you and being like, hey Tal, like dude, like what you did was amazing, tell me how it happened, what made you want to, and like ask all these interesting questions so that you feel seen. Like if they did have that skill, they'd be living just an amazing life as you and having all these cool stories. But the fact that they don't have that skill set is why they're sort of living it quite, they're going down their path,
Yeah.
and not
Tell me more about
expecting.
yourself and tell me more about like your podcast, what you've built.
So the podcast is something I do on the side. Um, I do it because I love it. I've been doing it for the last 4 years. It makes no money. I'm actually making a loss on it every month as I pay the editor to sort of produce these. My main gig over the last 7 years was e-com, drop shipping, Facebook ads, then sort of transitioning to education. And then over the last 6 months, I've been pivoting towards more content creation, blogging, and trying to figure out that side of things. As I'm finding out that I'm not as passionate about e-com as I used to be.
I gotta run now. I gotta head down to school. Thank you for the time. Thank you for putting me on the podcast.
I'll let you go. Thanks so much. I'll send you a message, Tal.
Anyways, thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Tal. Bye.